The morning sunlight poured gently through the living room windows, spilling gold across the worn wooden floors. Dust motes floated lazily in the warm rays, moving like tiny dancers in the still air. Outside, the birds sang their soft, morning songs, and a faint breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine through the slightly open kitchen window. The house felt like it had paused, suspended in a quiet, ordinary peace. Max lay curled up on the rug in the corner, his chest rising and falling in a slow, steady rhythm. The soft fur around his muzzle caught the light, glimmering like threads of gold. Occasionally, his ears twitched. Subtle movements, almost imperceptible, but Emma had learned to notice them. Those little shifts always meant something to Max, something beyond ordinary senses. Emma hummed as she spread butter on toast, the knife scraping softly against the bread. She paused, glancing toward the dog. "Good morning, boy," she said, her voice gentle, soft. "Did you sleep well?" Max lifted his head slowly, nose twitching as he sniffed the air. The scent of toast, of the garden, of her perfume, but also something else. Something faint, almost invisible. His eyes, deep and attentive, drifted toward the hallway. Not in panic, not in excitement, but with a focus that tugged at Emma's heart. Curiosity stirred. She set down the knife and walked closer, moving slowly so as not to disturb him. "Max, what is it, boy?" she asked quietly. He rose, stretching his legs with grace, his paws thudding softly on the floor. His tail wagged slowly, measured, purposeful. Then he looked back at her, as if inviting her to follow. Emma felt the pull instantly. She stepped into the hallway. The air felt warmer here, the sunlight softer on the walls. Max paused outside her son's room, sniffing near the door. Emma's heart skipped a beat. The room was neat, bed perfectly made, toys in their usual places, but something felt off. "Where's Charlie?" she whispered, almost to herself. Her voice was barely audible over the faint hum of the morning. Max tilted his head slightly, his gaze steady and unwavering. He sniffed near the window, where the curtains fluttered gently in the breeze. The window was slightly ajar, and a faint scent of the garden drifted in. His nose lifted again, more deliberately this time, his tail giving a small, almost imperceptible wag of focus. Emma knelt beside him, resting a hand on his soft fur. "Max, what did you notice?" she murmured, her voice trembling a little. She felt the warmth of his body under her palm, the quiet certainty in his presence. It was almost as if Max was saying, "Follow me. Trust me." Max stood and took a slow step toward the hallway again. Emma rose quickly but quietly, letting him lead the way. The living room, usually a place of ease and laughter, now felt charged with a gentle tension. Each soft step Max took seemed meaningful. Each pause, deliberate. She glanced around, noticing small details she had always taken for granted: the slightly open drawer of a dresser, the angle of a rug in the corner, the quiet tilt of a picture frame on the wall. Every little thing Max lingered near seemed like a clue she hadn't noticed before. Her mind raced softly but carefully, not with panic, but with the quiet urgency of discovery. Max stopped at the base of the staircase. He looked back at Emma again, his eyes wide, connected. Emma felt a lump in her throat. This was different. She had seen dogs sense things before, comfort a person in sadness or alert to danger, but this was something deeper, more intimate. "Max, lead the way," she whispered, almost reverently. She followed him up the stairs, the carpet muffling their footsteps. Each movement was slow, intentional, cinematic in its simplicity. The morning sunlight poured through the staircase window, casting long, golden streaks that lit up the dust in the air. It felt like a movie, like the world had slowed just for them. At the top of the stairs, Max paused outside Charlie's room. His tail wagged just enough to show reassurance, his body calm, controlled, connected. Emma peeked inside. The bed was perfectly made. The small blue blanket Charlie loved was folded neatly at the end. His favorite toy car sat on the floor, untouched. And yet, Charlie wasn't there. Emma's heart fluttered with a quiet worry she hadn't felt before. She sank down onto the floor, taking a deep breath. "Max, where's he gone?" she asked, her hand resting on his head. He leaned into her touch, but his eyes stayed fixed on the room, alert and purposeful. Then, Max moved again. He padded to the windowsill and sniffed the air with deliberate attention. The breeze carried more than just jasmine, it carried a faint, almost imperceptible scent. Max's ears twitched, his gaze sharpened, and his body remained calm but focused. Emma watched, utterly captivated. She had never seen him like this. A quiet realization began to settle in her chest. Max wasn't anxious. He wasn't fearful. He wasn't confused. He was guiding her. Leading her. Protecting her son with a quiet, unspoken intelligence. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her fingers through his golden fur. "I don't know what you're sensing, Max," she murmured, voice soft and reverent. "But I trust you." Max gave a small, deliberate nudge with his nose toward the slightly open window. Emma's breath caught. The garden outside was peaceful, sun-drenched, and ordinary, but Max's gaze was intense, unwavering. He turned back to her briefly, as if to make sure she was following, then returned to his post, sniffing near the sill. Emma felt her pulse slow and speed at the same time. There was warmth, yes, the comforting presence of her loyal dog, but also the soft tension of mystery, quiet but insistent. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, and whispered, "Max, whatever you're sensing, let's find him." Max barked once, low and soft, a gentle confirmation. Then he looked at the house beyond the window, as if aware of a path she could not yet see. Emma followed his gaze, her heart swelling with love, worry, and awe. In that quiet, golden morning light, mother and dog shared a bond stronger than words, a connection that would guide them through the moments ahead. What he sensed would change everything. The morning stretched into late hours, golden sunlight now drifting lazily through the kitchen and living room windows. Emma stayed close to Max, her hand brushing along his back as he padded silently around the house. Each movement he made seemed deliberate, thoughtful, measured, not hurried, not anxious, just aware. Max sniffed along the hallway, his nose low to the carpet, his ears twitching at sounds that Emma couldn't hear. The faint hum of a distant lawnmower, the chirping of birds outside, the soft creak of the upstairs floorboards, he absorbed it all. But it wasn't the ordinary noises that had his attention. It was something subtler. Something only he seemed to sense. Emma followed him closely, watching as he paused near the small table in the corner. He tilted his head, sniffed, and then nudged a small scarf with his nose. It was her scarf, the one Charlie had wrapped around his neck during play yesterday. Max's eyes flicked back toward her, patient but insistent. Emma crouched down, touching his warm fur. "What is it, boy?" she whispered. Her voice carried a mix of curiosity and quiet worry. Max gave a small whine, low and soft, and then walked a few steps toward the door leading to the backyard. Emma followed. Outside, the garden glowed in the late morning sun. Shadows from the trees stretched long across the grass. Max sniffed the air, walking in slow, deliberate circles. He paused near the edge of the flower bed, his body tensing slightly. His tail wagged just enough to signal calm, not excitement. Emma knelt, feeling a mixture of awe and unease. Max wasn't panicking, yet he was telling her something important. She scanned the garden, noticing small details she had never paid much attention to, a slightly ajar garden gate, a small trail of disturbed soil near the rose bush, the faint imprint of tiny sneakers on the soft earth. Emma's chest tightened. Her eyes met Max's, and she felt that unmistakable pull of trust that always came from him. "Do you want me to check that gate?" she murmured. Max barked softly, a single, clear sound that made her stomach flutter. Then he ran a few steps toward the side of the yard, stopping again. His gaze was fixed on a narrow strip between the fence and the shed. Emma rose slowly, moving with him, heart hammering quietly in her chest. She noticed the faint marks in the soil, the slight indentations, the pattern of movement that could only belong to a small child. She knelt, brushing her fingers over the ground. The evidence was subtle, almost invisible, but Max had noticed it immediately. Her eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but of astonishment. Max had sensed something she hadn't. Every small action, every tilt of his head, every pause in his sniffing, it had meaning. And now she was beginning to understand it. Max walked a few more steps, stopping at the old oak tree at the far end of the yard. He sniffed the base, circled once, then looked back at her with a steady, calm gaze. Emma felt a lump in her throat. She followed him, slowly, carefully, noticing the soft crunch of leaves beneath her feet, the warmth of the sun on her shoulders, the subtle scent of earth and grass in the air. He led her toward a small patch of the garden she often ignored, a quiet corner where the grass was softer, and the shadows made it feel almost hidden. Max sniffed carefully, pawed at the earth lightly, then sat down, his eyes locked onto hers. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her hand along his back. "Max." "I see it," she whispered. Her voice was low, reverent. "I see what you're showing me." Max leaned slightly into her touch, as if acknowledging her understanding. He gave a soft, almost imperceptible whine, and then turned his head back toward the house. Emma followed his gaze, noticing something she had overlooked before, a small trail of toy cars, leading subtly toward the side door. Her heart swelled with warmth and worry all at once. Max wasn't just guiding her through the garden, he was guiding her understanding of Charlie's world, of his movements, his playful instincts, the way he explored even the familiar spaces. Every small, subtle clue Max highlighted told a story she was only now beginning to read. The afternoon sunlight grew warmer, streaming through the open windows, casting gentle light across the kitchen and living room. Emma paused, sitting on the porch steps, her hands still resting on Max's fur. She watched him as he walked slowly back toward the garden gate, sniffing the ground, tilting his head with intent. There was a rhythm to his movements, a pattern, a logic. Emma felt herself sinking with it, understanding it not through words but through quiet observation and trust. Max was patient, deliberate, and utterly connected to her in that moment. She realized something profound. He wasn't just sensing the physical traces of her son, he was sensing the emotional essence of Charlie's presence. Emma exhaled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I can't explain it," she whispered, almost to herself, "but I trust you, Max." The dog gave a soft bark in reply, low and calming, and then walked back to her side. His gaze lifted toward the house, toward the room where Charlie should have been. Emma followed, her mind full of wonder, admiration, and quiet concern. Every instinct, every gentle movement Max made, carried a meaning she was just beginning to understand. Each sniff, each tilt of his head, each deliberate step was a message. And Emma felt an overwhelming connection, not just to Max, but to the invisible thread that tied them all together, the bond of family, trust, and love. As the shadows lengthened across the garden, the warmth of the afternoon sun touching their backs, Emma realized that this day, ordinary, golden, serene, was about to reveal something extraordinary. Max's subtle signs were not random. They were intentional, precise, a quiet map leading her toward the truth she could not yet see. Emma rose, brushing dust from her jeans. "All right, boy," she said softly, almost reverently. "Show me the rest." Max barked once, low and purposeful, and then trotted toward the small side gate, pausing as if to ensure Emma was following. She smiled through the tension in her chest, feeling a swell of gratitude and awe. There was no fear in his movements, no urgency in his bark, only guidance, only connection. The quiet afternoon held them in a gentle embrace, golden light illuminating their path, soft shadows creating intimacy and depth. Every heartbeat, every breath, every step was part of the story unfolding. Emma realized that what Max had sensed was more than just a trail, more than just a clue. It was the invisible thread that tied the family together, the silent knowledge that he alone could see and guide them through. And as they moved together toward the gate, Emma felt a stirring in her chest. The subtle signs Max had been showing her were leading her to something that would change everything. What Max knew would not just find Charlie, it would reveal a truth more beautiful than she could have imagined. By late afternoon, the sunlight had softened, casting a honey-golden glow across the living room. Shadows stretched lazily over the floorboards, and the gentle hum of the neighborhood drifted through the slightly open windows. Emma sat on the couch, Max resting his head on her lap, his warm fur brushing her hands as she stroked him slowly. Charlie was still missing, and though her worry was quiet, it pressed softly against her chest. But there was something about Max that calmed her, something about the way he had been moving through the house, sniffing, pausing, guiding, that made her believe this would end well. Max lifted his head and tilted it slightly, ears twitching at the faint sound of a squeaky toy in the other room. Not the toy Charlie had left, but a sound the dog had learned to associate with her son. His gaze shifted toward the hallway again, calm yet insistent. Emma felt that familiar pull, soft, unspoken, profound. "What is it, boy?" she whispered, leaning down closer. She noticed the intensity in his eyes, the steady rhythm of his breathing. Max wasn't agitated. He wasn't anxious. He was focused, deliberate, intuitive. She followed him again, through the living room, past the kitchen, and toward the staircase. Every small step he took seemed to carry meaning. Emma began to notice patterns in his behavior, the way he sniffed certain corners, the way he paused at particular doorways, the way he nudged objects slightly with his nose. She watched in quiet fascination, curiosity growing with every motion. It was strange and beautiful. Emma realized she had never truly observed Max like this. Usually, his antics were playful, comforting, or protective, but now, it was as if he had a language all his own. A silent, gentle guidance she could only feel. She leaned down, brushing her hand along his back. "You're teaching me to see things differently, aren't you?" she whispered. Max barked softly, low and calming, and then padded to the side of the room, sniffing along the base of the bookshelf. He paused, pawed lightly at a small toy car, then turned to look at her again. Emma's curiosity deepened. Every movement, every pause, every subtle action was part of a story she was only beginning to read. She followed him into Charlie's room once more. The room was bright with late afternoon light, golden and soft. Sunlight spilled across the neatly made bed, reflecting off Charlie's favorite action figure. Max moved carefully, sniffing along the edges of the rug, pausing near the closet. Emma's eyes widened there. Tucked slightly behind the closet door, was the faint outline of small footprints, almost invisible against the carpet. Her heart quickened, not with fear, but with awe. Max had noticed them immediately, guiding her attention to details she had overlooked. She knelt, tracing the small footprints gently with her fingers. Each one told a story of Charlie's morning, where he had run, where he had stopped, where he had played. Max watched silently, calm, connected, his gaze moving from the footprints to Emma, as if ensuring she understood. "I see it, Max," she murmured, voice soft and full of wonder. "I see what you're showing me." He gave a soft, deliberate whine, almost a confirmation. Then he moved toward the window, sniffing the air once again. Emma followed, realizing that every small, subtle sign Max had been showing her, from the garden, to the hallway, to this room, was part of a larger pattern. Her curiosity deepened, not with worry, but with fascination. It was as if she were learning to see through Max's eyes, to interpret the world the way he did. She noticed the slight breeze carrying the scent of fresh grass, the soft hum of distant traffic, the faint aroma of chocolate chip cookies cooling on the counter, details she had never fully appreciated until now. Max walked slowly to the corner of the room, sniffed, then nudged the window sill lightly with his nose. Emma rose and peered outside. There, beyond the garden, was the path that led to the backyard gate, lined with faint tracks in the soft dirt, Charlie's tracks. They were subtle, nearly invisible, but Max had guided her to them with quiet precision. Emma's chest swelled with gratitude. She had always known Max was special, but now she saw the depth of his intuition, the deliberate care with which he guided her. Every subtle action he took, every small sign he highlighted, was a thread connecting her to her son, to the world she could not yet fully perceive. She crouched beside him, brushing her hand along his fur again. "I never knew you could see so much," she whispered. "You're showing me how to understand, how to pay attention in a way I never could on my own." Max responded with a soft, calm nudge of his nose. His eyes met hers, steady, connected, full of purpose. Emma felt a lump in her throat, not fear, but profound admiration and love. She realized that curiosity was no longer just hers. Max's gentle intuition had awakened a new awareness in her, a new way of observing, a deeper connection to her family. The afternoon continued, soft light fading into golden shadows. Emma and Max moved slowly, deliberately, through the house. Every small discovery, the slight shift of a rug, the angle of a toy, the faint smell of the backyard added to the tapestry of clues Max was helping her weave. Her mind raced quietly, not with panic, but with anticipation. She had begun to understand that Max's actions were intentional, precise, and filled with meaning. Each step, each sniff, each pause was a message, one she was learning to read. As the sun dipped lower, painting the walls in shades of amber, Emma sat beside Max on the porch steps. She felt the warmth of his body, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the gentle reassurance of his presence. Curiosity had grown into trust. Observation had become understanding. And in that golden light, Emma realized that Max wasn't just guiding her to Charlie, he was teaching her a deeper lesson about connection, intuition, and love. "What are you sensing now, Max?" she whispered. Her voice carried the wonder, awe, and gentle suspense of the afternoon. Max leaned against her, calm, focused, his gaze still directed toward the backyard gate. Emma smiled softly, feeling a quiet certainty. She didn't yet know what the day would reveal, but she knew this: Max's intuition would lead them to the truth. And the truth would be more beautiful than she could have imagined. Evening settled over the neighborhood, soft amber light spilling through the windows, painting the walls in warm shades of gold. The quiet hum of the street outside mingled with the rustle of leaves in the backyard, and inside, the house felt suspended in a gentle, intimate calm. Emma sat on the living room floor, her hand resting on Max's back as he lay beside her, alert yet serene. Charlie was still missing, but the earlier subtle signs Max had revealed now felt like threads weaving a larger tapestry, a pattern she was beginning to understand. Each movement, each pause, each quiet sniff of the air was deliberate. Max had a purpose, and Emma was learning to follow it. He rose and walked slowly toward the hallway, glancing back to ensure Emma followed. She did, breathing softly, taking in the warmth of the late afternoon light fading into evening. Every step felt cinematic, almost as if time itself had slowed to match the rhythm of their connection. Max paused near the small pile of toys in the hallway. He sniffed carefully, nudged a toy gently with his nose, then stepped back, tilting his head. Emma knelt beside him, studying his actions. "You're showing me something again, aren't you?" she whispered. He gave a soft, deliberate whine, a sound that carried reassurance rather than alarm. Emma's heart swelled. It wasn't fear she felt, it was awe, admiration, and deepening trust. She realized that in every quiet gesture, Max was teaching her patience, observation, and the power of gentle intuition. Following him, she noticed small details she had overlooked before: the slight scuff on the rug, the faint traces of dirt on the windowsill, the subtle tilt of a picture frame. Each clue Max highlighted was part of a silent map, guiding her toward Charlie in a way only he could perceive. As they moved through the house, Emma spoke softly, narrating her observations aloud. "I see it now, Max, the way he must have moved, the little footprints here, the path through the garden, it all makes sense." Max's ears twitched, his gaze focused, as if he understood her words in approval. For the first time, Emma truly felt the depth of their bond. Max was not just a pet, he was a companion, a guide, a quiet guardian who had been silently watching over her family for years. The trust she felt toward him was now reciprocated in every deliberate step he took, in every careful sniff, in every patient glance. Max led her to the backyard again, where shadows lengthened beneath the trees. The golden light of sunset filtered through the branches, creating patterns on the soft grass. He paused near the side gate, sniffing the air carefully, then sat down and looked back at her. Emma knelt beside him, her hand resting on his warm fur. "You're incredible, Max," she whispered. "I've never seen you like this, guiding me, showing me, keeping us safe in ways I can barely understand." Max leaned into her touch, his calm presence filling her with warmth and reassurance. Emma noticed the faint trail of footprints leading from the side gate into the small patch of woods behind the house. Max had been alert to them for hours, guiding her attention subtly, never rushing, never panicking. Each discovery strengthened the bond between them, a silent dialogue of trust and intuition. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the backyard glowed in shades of orange and pink. Emma stood, brushing dirt from her jeans, and looked down at Max. "I know you're leading me to him, aren't you?" she said softly. Max gave a small, encouraging bark and nudged her gently forward. Inside, the house had quieted further. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint ticking of the wall clock, and the soft creak of the floorboards formed a gentle soundtrack to their search. Every movement Max made carried meaning, and Emma's curiosity and admiration grew with each step. The emotional connection between them deepened with every quiet moment. She realized that this was more than just finding Charlie. It was about understanding the subtle language of love, trust, and intuition that existed between them. Max's silent guidance was a bridge connecting her heart to his, and through him, to the unseen traces of her son. Emma followed him back toward the small clearing near the oak tree, where Max had paused earlier. Shadows stretched long across the grass, and the golden glow of twilight bathed the scene in a cinematic warmth. Max sniffed the ground carefully, circling once, then sat down and looked up at her with steady, attentive eyes. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her fingers along his soft fur. "I trust you, Max," she whispered. "I'm following you, every step of the way." The quiet intensity in his gaze reassured her. He wasn't just guiding her physically, he was guiding her emotionally, teaching her to see, to feel, and to trust the invisible threads connecting them all. They sat together for a moment, sharing the warmth of the fading sun and the quiet rhythm of their breathing. Emma realized that the bond she felt now was different from anything she had experienced before. It was deeper, richer, almost sacred in its intimacy. Max rose slowly and trotted toward the edge of the woods, pausing to look back at her. Emma followed, her footsteps soft on the earth, her heart full of quiet wonder. Every step they took together reinforced the trust between them, the unspoken understanding that this was a shared journey, guided by intuition and love. As darkness began to settle, the soft glow of evening illuminated the path ahead. Emma felt a sense of anticipation building, a quiet tension wrapped in warmth. She didn't yet know exactly what they would find, but she knew this: Max's intuition was leading her closer to Charlie, and the emotional bond between them was stronger than ever. Max stopped at a familiar spot, the small hollow under the old oak tree. He sniffed carefully, then looked back at Emma. She knelt beside him, resting her hands on his shoulders. "You've been leading me all along, haven't you?" she whispered. Max leaned gently into her, calm, focused, unwavering. In that soft, golden twilight, mother and dog shared a moment of quiet connection, intense, warm, and full of meaning. The trust between them had grown into something unbreakable, and Emma realized that the journey ahead would reveal not only Charlie's whereabouts but also the depth of love, intuition, and understanding that Max carried in his heart. The bond they shared had strengthened. The subtle signs had become a dialogue. And as the evening air settled around them, Emma knew that the path they were following would lead them to a truth more beautiful than she could have imagined. What Max sensed would reveal more than just where Charlie was. The following morning arrived softly, with sunlight filtering through the thin curtains in golden stripes. The house felt quiet yet alive, carrying the warmth of a new day. Birds chirped in the backyard, the soft hum of life outside mixing with the faint scent of fresh coffee drifting from the kitchen. Emma woke to find Max already alert, sitting by the bedroom door, ears perked, eyes focused on her. He wasn't restless. He wasn't anxious. He simply sat there, patient, purposeful, waiting. The connection she felt in the previous days had deepened. Every glance, every slight movement from him was a signal she had learned to read. She knelt beside him, brushing her hand through his soft fur. "Morning, Max," she whispered. "Are you ready to show me again?" He gave a small, deliberate bark, a sound that felt like reassurance more than instruction. After a quiet breakfast, Emma followed Max to the backyard. The garden was drenched in morning light, dew sparkling on the grass like tiny diamonds. Max sniffed along the familiar paths, his movements slow and deliberate. Then, without warning, he stopped near the fence, tail wagging slightly, head tilted. Emma leaned down beside him, following his gaze. At first, she saw nothing unusual. But Max pawed lightly at the ground, his nose hovering over a small patch of dirt. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her fingers along the soft earth. There, partially hidden by a cluster of leaves, was a small object, Charlie's favorite toy car, dirt-smudged but unmistakable. Her heart warmed instantly. Max had noticed it immediately, guiding her attention to something she would have overlooked. It was subtle, almost invisible, but its meaning was profound. It was a sign that they were on the right path. "Good boy, Max," Emma whispered, brushing her hand over his head. "You've been leading me all along, haven't you?" He leaned into her touch, calm, steady, connected. They continued, following the trail that Max indicated, footprints in the soft earth, a slight disturbance in the grass, the faint scent of Charlie carried on the breeze. Emma moved slowly, savoring each moment, noticing the delicate balance of light and shadow, the warmth of the morning sun, the gentle rustle of leaves. Every detail Max guided her toward was a step closer to understanding. In the small clearing by the oak tree, Max paused again. His nose hovered over a patch of soft soil, ears twitching as he sniffed. Emma knelt beside him, heart beating gently but steadily. She realized that Max's behavior was deliberate. Every sniff, every tilt of his head, every pawing motion was intentional, a guide leading her toward discovery. Emma's curiosity and admiration grew with every subtle sign. She marveled at how Max could sense things invisible to her, how he read the environment, how he interpreted the smallest details to guide her. It wasn't magic. It was intuition, connection, and unwavering love. Then Max led her a few steps farther, toward a part of the backyard that Emma seldom paid attention to, a narrow gap between the shed and the fence. He sniffed carefully, pawed the ground lightly, and then looked back at her, eyes steady, as if to say, "This is it. Watch closely." Emma approached slowly, following his gaze. There, partially hidden by shadows and leaves, was the faint outline of a small blanket. Her breath caught. It was Charlie's blanket, the one he carried everywhere. The realization hit her softly, like the warmth of sunlight on her face. Max's intuition had led them here, guiding her to the first tangible clue of her son's whereabouts. Tears pricked her eyes, but they were not tears of fear. They were tears of awe, gratitude, and quiet relief. Emma knelt, brushing her fingers over the blanket. "Oh, Max, you knew all along," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. He leaned into her, calm, unwavering, as if sharing in the significance of the moment. Max sniffed again, then nudged her gently toward the narrow path behind the shed. Emma followed, feeling a mixture of anticipation and warmth. Every step was deliberate, measured, filled with the quiet suspense of discovery. She noticed the way Max moved with focus and patience, guiding her through the subtle details of the environment, the soft crunch of leaves beneath her feet, the warmth of sunlight on the fence, the gentle scent of grass and soil in the air. As they rounded the corner, Max paused, sniffing a small patch of dirt near a low tree branch. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her fingers over the ground. There, half hidden in the shade, were more of Charlie's belongings, a tiny shoe, slightly scuffed, and a small toy dinosaur. The pieces were falling into place, each subtle sign Max had led her toward forming a quiet, beautiful revelation. Her heart swelled. She had never felt a bond so profound. Max had guided her not just with action, but with intuition, patience, and unwavering focus. Each discovery, each subtle sign, deepened the connection between them, reinforcing the trust and love that had grown over these past days. Emma stood slowly, brushing her hands along Max's back. "You've done so much more than I could ever have imagined, Max," she whispered. "You show me the way, and I trust you completely." Max gave a soft, approving bark, nudging her gently as if acknowledging her words. The sunlight grew warmer, golden rays streaming through the leaves, illuminating the clearing with a soft, cinematic glow. Emma realized that Max's intuition had not only led them to clues, he had guided her understanding of Charlie's world, showing her the subtle signs she had overlooked. It was more than guidance, it was a lesson in observation, patience, and connection. As they sat together in the quiet clearing, Emma felt a surge of gratitude and awe. The gentle reveal had begun, and with it, a growing sense of hope and anticipation. Max's subtle signs were not random, they were intentional, filled with meaning, and carrying them steadily toward the truth. Max rested his head on her lap, eyes bright and focused, tail wagging softly. Emma stroked his fur gently, feeling the warmth of his presence, the calm strength of his guidance. "I don't know exactly where Charlie is yet," she whispered, "but I know you'll lead me there." And she knew it wasn't just about finding her son, it was about the bond they shared, the silent language of trust and intuition, and the quiet beauty of connection that Max carried in his heart. What Max sensed was about to reveal a truth far more beautiful than Emma could have imagined. The afternoon sun had softened into a warm, golden haze, painting the backyard in hues of amber and honey. Shadows from the trees stretched long, creating a quiet, intimate atmosphere. Emma followed Max carefully, each step deliberate, syncing with the rhythm of his calm movements. Every sniff, every pause, every subtle gesture he made carried meaning she was learning to read. They had been following the trail of subtle clues for hours now, the toy car, the blanket, the tiny shoe, and each discovery had deepened Emma's understanding of her son's path. But now, as Max paused near the edge of the garden where the trees thickened, a different kind of tension filled the air, not fear, but anticipation. Max sniffed carefully, circling a small patch of earth with deliberate precision. His tail wagged slowly, signaling calm focus. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her hand along his back, feeling the warmth and steady heartbeat beneath her palm. "I know you're close to something," she whispered. "Show me." Max helped me understand. He lifted his head, ears perked, eyes locked onto hers. It was a gaze full of patience, connection, and quiet insistence. Then he moved a few steps forward, stopping at a barely visible indentation in the soft earth. Emma's breath caught. It was faint, subtle, almost easy to overlook, but she could see it now, through Max's guidance, the imprint of small hands, tiny sneakers pressed gently into the soil. Her heart swelled with a mixture of awe and relief. She knelt, tracing the prints softly with her fingers. "You saw this all along, didn't you, Max?" she murmured. The dog nudged her gently with his nose, as if affirming her realization. Emma stood slowly, following Max as he guided her to the narrow path between the fence and the dense trees at the backyard's edge. Each step felt cinematic, imbued with soft tension and quiet purpose. She noticed the way Max paused, sniffed, and tilted his head at precise moments, revealing details she would have missed without him. The scent of Charlie was faint but present. Max led her closer, careful not to rush, ensuring that every moment was observed and understood. Emma's emotions swelled, curiosity, relief, trust, and an unspoken admiration for the quiet intelligence and intuition of her loyal companion. Then, just beyond a small cluster of bushes, Max stopped abruptly, standing tall, ears forward, gaze fixed. Emma approached slowly, her breath steady but her heart racing softly with anticipation. There, partially hidden in the shadows, was Charlie, sitting calmly, surrounded by small leaves and twigs from his exploration. He looked up at her, eyes wide with innocent curiosity, a faint smile forming on his face. "Charlie!" Emma whispered, tears welling in her eyes. She rushed forward, wrapping her arms around him in a gentle embrace. The warmth of the moment enveloped her, the soft glow of the sun, the quiet rustle of leaves, the steady presence of Max by her side. Max circled them once, sniffing the air, then sat down, his tail wagging gently. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her hand through his fur. "You led me to him, didn't you, Max?" she whispered. He gave a small bark, calm and deliberate, as if confirming every instinct, every movement, every subtle sign had been intentional. The emotional turning point had arrived, not with panic or fear, but with quiet revelation and profound connection. Max's intuition had guided her every step of the way, turning subtle signs into a map, a narrative of trust and love that led them safely to Charlie. Charlie hugged Emma tightly, burying his small face into her shoulder. "Mom!" "Max knew," he exclaimed softly. His voice was filled with wonder, relief, and awe. Emma pulled back slightly, looking down at her son, then at Max, feeling the full weight of gratitude and admiration. Max nudged Charlie gently, tail wagging, eyes bright and alert. The bond between the three of them, mother, son, and dog, had never felt stronger, deeper, more unshakable. Every instinct, every subtle sign Max had shown over the past days had culminated in this moment of emotional clarity and profound connection. Emma brushed a tear from her cheek, voice trembling with emotion. "I couldn't have found you without him, Charlie. Max, he led me here. He knew where you were all along." Max leaned into her hand, calm, purposeful, as if acknowledging the truth of her words. Charlie looked at Max, eyes wide, filled with awe and love. "He's amazing," he whispered. Max barked softly in response, a gentle affirmation of the bond that tied them together. Emma smiled, the warmth in her chest expanding with each passing heartbeat. The golden sunlight bathed the clearing in cinematic warmth, highlighting every subtle detail, the soft rustle of leaves, the gentle glow on Charlie's face, the warm fur of Max shimmering in the light. Emma took a deep breath, letting the emotional release settle over them. The quiet tension that had threaded through the day dissolved into relief, awe, and gratitude. Max sat beside them, steady and focused, as Emma held Charlie's hand. The trust, love, and connection that had guided them through subtle signs and gentle intuition had now fully revealed itself. Emma realized that Max hadn't just guided her to Charlie, he had revealed the depth of his understanding, his loyalty, and his love for their family. Every sniff, every pause, every deliberate movement had led to this emotional turning point, a moment of quiet triumph and profound connection. Emma's heart was full, her eyes glistening with tears of gratitude. Charlie nestled into her side, his small hands gripping hers, while Max remained close, calm, attentive, and unwavering. For the first time since the morning, Emma allowed herself to breathe fully. The subtle signs, the gentle guidance, the quiet intelligence of Max had all been part of a narrative she was only beginning to comprehend. The emotional turning point was complete, the truth was beginning to emerge, and it was beautiful, warm, and profoundly moving. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with shades of pink and amber, Emma realized that the journey was far from over. Max's intuition had guided them to Charlie, but there was more to uncover, more to understand about the quiet, invisible threads that connected them all. The next steps would bring clarity, revelation, and emotional closure, gently, softly, beautifully. Max nudged Emma's hand again, calm, deliberate, as if reminding her to trust the journey, to trust the subtle signs, and to follow the quiet path of connection he had illuminated. Emma smiled, brushing a hand along his back, feeling the warmth and steady heartbeat beneath her palm. What Max sensed was about to reveal the full story, one of love, intuition, and quiet heroism that would touch their hearts forever. The late afternoon sun bathed the backyard in soft golden light, turning every leaf and blade of grass into a gentle shimmer. Emma held Charlie close, feeling his small, warm body pressed against hers, while Max sat faithfully by their side, alert, calm, and purposeful. The quiet had a rhythm now, one they had learned to follow. Max's nose twitched as he sniffed the air, guiding them subtly toward the next clue, toward the understanding they had been building together over the past days. Each step he took seemed deliberate, each pause meaningful, as though he carried knowledge beyond the ordinary. Charlie's eyes were wide, still filled with awe from being found, but curiosity shone even brighter. "Mom, how did Max know?" he asked softly. His small hand rested on Max's back, feeling the warmth and calm strength of their loyal companion. Emma smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "I don't know how exactly, Charlie, but Max has always been able to sense things we can't. He notices what we miss, and he guides us. Today, he guided us straight to you." Max nudged Charlie gently with his nose, tail wagging in quiet assurance. The dog's calm, steady presence filled the space around them with warmth and trust. Emma realized something profound. Max wasn't just alerting them to Charlie's whereabouts, he was connecting them to the invisible threads of understanding, intuition, and love that wove their family together. They followed Max to the small clearing behind the oak tree, where the last subtle clues had appeared, the blanket, the toy car, and the faint footprints. Emma knelt beside him, watching as he sniffed carefully, circling once, then looking back at her and Charlie with eyes that seemed to say, "Look closer, notice everything." Emma's gaze fell on the ground, and her heart swelled. There, half buried under a pile of leaves and sunlight, were several small items Charlie had carried with him earlier, a notebook, a small action figure, and a crumpled drawing. Emma picked up the drawing carefully, unfolding it to reveal a sketch Charlie had made of Max, the two of them side by side, smiling under a golden sun. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. "Oh, Charlie, he's always been watching over you," she whispered. "Even when you didn't notice, Max knew. He knew you needed him." Charlie looked at Max, eyes bright, filled with wonder. He did all this for me?" he asked softly. Max barked once, low and gentle, nudging Charlie's shoulder as if affirming every word. Emma knelt beside them both, brushing her hand along Max's golden fur. "Yes, Charlie. He did it because he loves you, because he understands you, and because he knows exactly what we need, even when we don't know ourselves." The realization settled over them like sunlight. Max's actions had not just guided them to Charlie, they had revealed the heart of their connection. He had been observing, interpreting, and acting all along, his intuition weaving the story together in ways only he could. The subtle signs, the gentle nudges, the careful pauses, they were all part of a larger, beautiful truth. Emma held the drawing close, feeling the weight of the day's events, the warmth of her son, and the steady presence of her dog beside them. "You show me so much today, Max," she said softly, voice thick with emotion. "You've taught me to notice, to trust, to love even deeper than I ever imagined." Max leaned into her hand, calm, unwavering, a quiet confirmation of her words. Charlie hugged the notebook and the drawing to his chest. "Mom, Max is amazing," he whispered. "I think he's a little hero." Emma smiled, brushing his hair gently. "Yes, he is, Charlie. He always has been." Max barked softly, a low, approving sound. The sunlight warmed his fur, highlighting every soft line of his face and the depth of his eyes. Emma realized that this quiet, heart-touching truth was more than a discovery, it was a lesson. It was a revelation of love, loyalty, and intuition that transcended words. For the first time in days, Emma allowed herself to breathe fully, letting the relief, awe, and gratitude wash over her. The gentle mystery had unfolded into clarity, guided by Max's unwavering devotion. The subtle signs, the careful gestures, and the intuitive connection had led them to a truth more beautiful than they could have imagined. Charlie nestled into Emma's side, glancing at Max with eyes full of admiration. "Mom, do you think he knows how special he is?" Emma smiled, brushing her hand along Max's back. "I think he knows, Charlie, in his own way. He's shown us that love, intuition, and care can guide us even in ways we don't understand." Max lay down beside them, tail wagging slowly, eyes focused yet calm. The bond between them, mother, son, and dog, had grown stronger, deeper, more profound. Every subtle action, every intuitive gesture, every gentle guide had revealed the heart of Max's understanding and the depth of his devotion. Emma looked around the clearing, the warm sunlight spilling through the branches, illuminating the soft leaves, the scattered toys, and the serene expressions on Charlie and Max. She felt a quiet sense of completion, yet knew that the emotional journey had shaped them in ways beyond discovery. "Thank you, Max," she whispered, voice full of warmth and reverence. "For showing us, for guiding us, for being our quiet hero." Max leaned into her hand, eyes bright and connected, as if saying, "It's always been my job to care for you. Always." The heart-touching truth had revealed itself in small, subtle ways, in his movements, in his gaze, in the trust and intuition that guided every step. Emma realized that this revelation wasn't just about finding Charlie, it was about understanding the invisible bonds of love, connection, and loyalty that Max carried in his heart. The evening air settled softly around them, warm and comforting. Emma held Charlie close, Max resting at their feet, and the three of them sat together in quiet reflection. The subtle mystery had unfolded into a truth more beautiful than they could have imagined, a truth of devotion, care, and the quiet power of a dog's intuition. What Max sensed had revealed more than Charlie's location. It had revealed the depth of love and connection that bound them all together. The golden light of late afternoon drifted gently through the windows, filling the house with a calm, serene warmth. Outside, the garden shimmered in soft shades of amber, and the faint rustle of leaves carried a quiet melody of peace. Inside, Emma, Charlie, and Max sat together in the living room, each presence radiating comfort, connection, and love. Charlie had settled in on the couch, a small blanket tucked around his shoulders, clutching the drawing of Max he had made days earlier. Emma sat beside him, gently brushing a strand of hair from his face, while Max lay at their feet, tail sweeping softly across the carpet. The tension that had shadowed the past days had dissolved into a gentle calm, leaving a profound sense of gratitude and healing. Emma glanced at Max, her heart swelling with admiration. "You've given us so much more than we could ever have imagined, Max," she whispered. "You've guided us, protected us, and shown us a love that's deeper than words." Max lifted his head, eyes steady and connected, letting her words sink into the quiet strength of his presence. Charlie leaned closer to Emma, whispering, "Mom, Max is my hero. He always knows what to do. Emma smiled, feeling the warmth in her chest expand. Yes, Charlie. He's been your guardian all along, and ours too. The subtle mystery that had woven itself through the past days, the faint clues, the gentle nudges, the quiet guidance had finally led them here. Every discovery, every intuitive action Max had taken, had strengthened the invisible bonds that tied their family together. It was more than finding Charlie. It was understanding the quiet, extraordinary ways love and intuition could connect them. Max stretched slowly, rising to his feet and padding over to the window, where sunlight spilled across the sill. He tilted his head, sniffing the air, alert yet calm, then returned to their side. Emma reached down, stroking his fur, feeling the steady warmth beneath her hand. You've done it all so perfectly, she said softly. Guiding us without fear, without rush, just love and patience. Charlie leaned against her side, hand resting on Max's back. I think he knows we love him, he said quietly. Max gave a soft, approving bark, his eyes bright and gentle. It was a quiet affirmation of the bond they shared, a bond built on trust, intuition, and unwavering devotion. Emma reflected on the journey they had all taken together, the subtle signs Max had revealed, the patterns she had learned to read, and the quiet guidance that had led them through uncertainty toward clarity. Every moment had been a lesson in observation, patience, and connection. Max had shown them how to notice the small things, how to trust instincts, and how love could guide them in ways they could not always see. As evening deepened, the golden light gave way to soft shadows, and the warmth of the room wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. Emma leaned back, taking in the serene expressions on Charlie's face and the calm, attentive gaze of Max. The tension of the past days had melted away, replaced with a sense of wholeness, peace, and quiet joy. Charlie hugged the drawing of Max close to his chest. I think I understand now, he whispered. Max wasn't just helping us find me, he was showing us how to pay attention, how to care, how to trust. Emma nodded, brushing her hand along his hair. Exactly, Charlie. He's taught us all something important. Love, intuition, and attention that can guide us in ways we can't even imagine. Max settled at their feet, resting his head on Charlie's lap. The soft rise and fall of his breathing mirrored the quiet rhythm of the room. Emma and Charlie exchanged a glance, hearts full of gratitude and wonder. They didn't need words to understand the depth of what Max had shown them. It was in every glance, every gesture, every subtle, loving action. The evening continued in gentle calm. Emma prepared a small snack for Charlie, while Max watched attentively, tail sweeping the floor in quiet contentment. Each movement, each shared glance, reinforced the bond they had all strengthened over the past days. The subtle signs had revealed not only the path to Charlie but the heart of their connection, the quiet, unspoken love that tied them together. Later, as the sun finally dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber, pink, and violet, Emma sat with Charlie on the porch, Max resting at their side. The air was warm, carrying the scent of the garden and the faint hum of evening life. She wrapped an arm around her son, holding him close, while Max leaned into their shared warmth. This has been quite a journey, Emma said softly, voice full of emotion. And Max, you've made it unforgettable. You've shown us the quiet strength of love, the power of intuition, and the beauty of paying attention to what truly matters. Max's eyes glimmered in the fading light, calm and connected, a living testament to every lesson he had imparted. Charlie yawned, resting his head against his mother's shoulder. I'll never forget this day, he whispered. Or Max, my hero. Emma smiled, brushing her hand along Max's fur. Neither will I, Charlie. Neither will I. The quiet night settled over them, the warm glow of the porch light casting gentle shadows. Max lay peacefully, the bond he shared with Emma and Charlie unspoken but deeply understood. The subtle mystery had resolved, the emotional journey complete, and the truth had revealed itself in the warmest, most heart-touching way possible. Emma leaned back, watching the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. She felt a profound sense of peace. The lessons of the past days, the quiet guidance, the subtle signs, the unwavering intuition had strengthened not only their bond with Max but their connection as a family. What you sensed? Max, Emma whispered softly, brushing his fur one last time that evening, was more than just finding Charlie. It was showing us how love can guide us in ways we never imagined. Max leaned into her hand, calm, steady, eyes bright. His presence spoke more than words ever could. And as the three of them sat together under the soft twilight, Emma knew that the bond they shared, mother, son, and dog, was forever strengthened. The journey had revealed the beauty of connection, the power of intuition, and the heart-touching truth that love, even in its quietest forms, could guide them through any mystery, any uncertainty. The day closed gently, bathed in cinematic warmth and peace. Charlie hugged Max one last time before heading inside, Emma's hand resting on both of them. The soft evening air, the warmth of their hearts, and the quiet presence of Max filled every corner of their home with love, serenity, and emotional closure. What Max sensed had changed everything, not just by leading them to Charlie, but by revealing the quiet, extraordinary power of love and intuition that connected them all. And in that moment, the family understood, their hearts were full, their bonds unbreakable, and the truth behind every subtle sign was more beautiful than they could have ever imagined.